The courtroom was so quiet you could hear the old ceiling fan ticking above the judge's bench. But no one dared look away from the woman standing in the center of the room. Lieutenant Commander Mara Hale, a former Navy SEAL with a calm face and sharp eyes, held her service medal in her hand like it weighed 100 pounds. It wasn't just a medal to her. It was the memory of a mission that had changed her life and the lives of the people she served with. But today, that memory was being treated like evidence in a case that never should have existed. The judge's voice cut through the tension as he leaned forward, ordering her to surrender the medal immediately. Gasps broke across the room. Everyone knew what that medal represented: valor, sacrifice, and a story no one had ever fully understood. Yet the judge acted as if it was just another object on his paperwork. His tone carried something colder than authority, something personal. People felt it, even if they couldn't explain it. Mara didn't move. Her posture stayed steady, but her silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. She looked at the medal for a moment, as if she was remembering something the rest of the world had forgotten. A few rows back, her former teammates exchanged nervous looks. They had seen her face in the worst moments overseas, but this expression, controlled, focused, almost defiant, was something different. Something dangerous for whoever pushed her too far. Whispers spread fast. Why would a judge want to take a CAL's medal? What was he trying to hide? The courtroom crew, reporters, and even the guards could feel that this wasn't just a legal matter. It was a power move. And everyone knew that when people tried to corner Mara Hale, she didn't just push back, she changed the game entirely. She finally lifted her head, eyes locking on the judge. Her voice, calm and steady, carried through the room. What she said next didn't raise her volume, but it raised every heartbeat. Because in that moment, you could sense that her next move wasn't going to be quiet, safe, or predictable. It would be the decision that ended the judge's career overnight, and no one in that courtroom was ready for what she was about to do next. Mara didn't look away from the judge as the room waited for her response. But instead of reacting with anger, she lowered the medal slowly, almost gently, as if she was placing a memory back into its box. Her calmness rattled the judge more than any protest would have. He shifted in his seat, tapping his pen on the bench as if trying to regain control of the moment. People noticed it. They could sense a history between them, something unspoken, something that didn't fit the clean, official tone of a courtroom. What most of the audience didn't know was that Mara hadn't always been the quiet SEAL who avoided the spotlight. Before the mission that earned her that medal, she had been known for her sharp instincts and fearless leadership. Her team trusted her with their lives, and she had carried the weight of every decision long after the mission ended. But that mission also put her at odds with people who preferred certain truths to stay buried. And one of those people now sat on the bench. Wearing a judge's robe-like armor, reporters had tried digging into her past months earlier. But so many parts of her record were sealed that it only made the public more curious. Why were key files missing? Why were certain names blacked out? Why did every question lead to another closed door? The deeper people searched, the more they realized something didn't add up than the judge seemed. Determined to keep it that way, her teammates glanced toward the judge, each remembering how the medal ceremony itself had felt strange. Certain officials weren't invited. Certain stories were rewritten. And Mara, usually the last person to question authority, had walked away from the Navy with more silence than answers. Now, standing in front of the man who was trying to strip her of the only proof of what happened overseas, Mara finally looked like she was done staying quiet. The judge tightened his jaw, sensing her shift. Everyone leaned forward as she opened her mouth to speak, unaware that her next words would expose a connection no one expected, and take the conflict from a courtroom battle to something far more personal. Mara's story wasn't just about bravery on the battlefield, it was also about what happened when courage met corruption. Years before this tense courtroom showdown, she had been part of a covert operation that went sideways. The mission was top secret, buried deep in classified files no one could access. But what wasn't secret was that something went wrong, something someone powerful wanted to cover up. Mara's medal wasn't just a symbol of honor. It was a reminder of the truth she carried alone. Her relationship with the judge was complicated. Before he wore the robe, he had been a high-ranking officer in the same military branch. Someone who was supposed to uphold justice, but had been quietly involved in silencing those who threatened to expose the truth. Mara had crossed paths with him during the investigation into the failed mission. And from that moment, a silent war began, a war fought not with guns, but with secrets and shadows. The judge's demand for her medal was more than a legal maneuver. It was a calculated attempt to erase her story, to strip away her voice. But Mara wasn't about to let that happen. She knew what was at stake, not just for herself, but for others who had suffered in silence. The courtroom was filled with people who only saw the surface, unaware of the invisible battle raging beneath as the judge stared at her. Mara felt the weight of every moment that had led to this day. The late nights spent digging for proof, the quiet conversations with those who still believed in justice, the personal sacrifices made to stand up against an invisible enemy. This was more than a fight for a medal, it was a fight to reclaim truth and honor round her. Whispers spread like wildfire. The audience, the media, the legal team, they all wondered what she would do next. Mara's next move wouldn't just change the course of this trial. It would challenge the very system built to protect the powerful and shake the foundation beneath them all. The courtroom seemed to hold its breath as Mara's eyes locked on the judge. Time felt stretched, like every second was thick with the weight of what was about to happen. Around them, people shifted in their seats, sensing the storm before the calm. The judge, usually so composed, now showed cracks in his armor, a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze that no one had seen before. Mara's calm wasn't weakness. It was the quiet before a force no one was ready for. Her legal team exchanged brief glances, ready but cautious. They knew Mara wasn't just fighting for the medal, she was fighting for the truth, for the story hidden beneath layers of silence and fear. The judge's order to take the medal was a power play, a last attempt to silence her. But Mara had spent years preparing for this moment, gathering allies, uncovering hidden facts, and quietly waiting for the right time to strike. Outside the courtroom, reporters whispered about the unusual tension. Social media was already buzzing with speculation, with hashtags trending about the seal who dared to stand against a judge. People connected with Mara's story on a deeper level, a story about courage, injustice, and the fight to be heard. The public's curiosity was reaching a boiling point, but no one knew exactly what would come next. Inside, Mara finally spoke. Her voice was steady, but every word cut through the silence like a sharp blade. She didn't just refuse to hand over the medal, she revealed a detail that stunned everyone. Something no one expected, something that tied the judge directly to the secret she had kept hidden for so long. The room erupted with a mixture of shock, disbelief, and rising tension. Eyes widened, whispers turned to murmurs, and the judge's face paled. The battle was no longer just legal, it had become personal, explosive. Mara's next move was about to shake the very foundations of the court, challenge the judge's power, and set in motion a chain of events that would change everything. But before anyone could react, she dropped the final bombshell that would leave the entire courtroom stunned, and the judge's career hanging by a thread. Just when the courtroom thought it had reached its breaking point, Mara's voice dropped to a quieter, sharper tone, one that demanded attention in a way that silence never could. She revealed something no one had anticipated. The judge's involvement wasn't just a distant shadow from the past. He was actively covering up new evidence that could unravel everything he had worked to protect. The medal was just the surface. Beneath it lay a tangled web of deception. And the judge was right at the center. The room went still again, heavier than before. The tension wasn't just between Mara and the judge anymore. It stretched into the very halls of power, threatening to expose a scandal that could shake the military and judicial system alike. Mara's revelation wasn't just a surprise. It was a direct challenge to the judge's authority and credibility. Her teammates exchanged glances. Knowing this twist raised the stakes far beyond what anyone had expected. This wasn't simply about honor or recognition anymore. It was about justice, accountability, and the courage to confront a system that had tried to bury the truth. Mara had risked everything to come this far, and now the danger was higher than ever. The judge's composure cracked visibly. For the first time, his voice faltered, his carefully crafted facade slipping as whispers grew louder. Reporters scrambled, sensing the story had just exploded beyond any ordinary courtroom drama. Social media feeds lit up with speculation about corruption.
The courtroom was electric with suspense, the air thick with anticipation. The final act was about to begin, and no one could predict how far this story would go, or who would come out standing when the dust finally settled. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence as the seal rose to speak, her voice steady but charged with the weight of everything at stake. She didn't just refuse the judge's order to hand over her medal. She laid out everything she had uncovered, presenting clear evidence of the judge's misconduct, his misuse of authority, and decisions that had harmed not only her, but others who had dared to challenge the system. The room buzzed with disbelief as layers of corruption were peeled back right before everyone's eyes. The judge, once so sure of his power, was visibly shaken. His career, built on a foundation of strict control, was crumbling in real time. The military officials present had no choice but to act swiftly. Within hours, an internal investigation was launched, and the judge was placed on suspension. The SEAL's courage in standing up wasn't just a personal victory. It became a symbol of accountability and justice in a system that desperately needed it. But just when it seemed the story had reached its conclusion, an unexpected twist emerged. As the dust settled, new information came forward, evidence that someone else had been quietly pulling strings behind the scenes, manipulating both the SEAL's case and the judge's decisions for reasons nobody could have guessed. This shadow figure had motives that went beyond medals or authority. Suddenly, the SEAL found herself facing a new challenge, one that threatened to pull her back into a deeper, more dangerous game. Her medal remained hers, a hard-won symbol of honor and resilience. The judge's career was over, his fall swift and public. Yet the fight for truth wasn't over. The courtroom battle had exposed more than just corruption. It revealed a complex web of power and deceit that reached far beyond the walls of justice. And as the SEAL prepared for what came next, one thing was clear. Standing up for what's right often means facing battles that don't end with a single victory, but continue long after the spotlight fades. In the weeks that followed, the SEAL's story became more than just a headline. It turned into a symbol of courage and perseverance for many. The investigation into the judge's misconduct revealed a system that, while flawed, had the ability to correct itself when someone refused to stay silent. The military took steps to improve transparency and accountability, ensuring that no one would have to face such a battle alone in the future. The SEAL, who once stood quietly among her peers, now found herself at the center of a larger movement, one that inspired others to stand up for what's right, even when the odds seemed impossible. Though the shadowy figure behind the scenes remained a mystery for a time, the SEAL's determination never wavered. She used her platform to push for reforms, working alongside officials who believed in fairness and justice. Her medal, once threatened to be taken away, became a powerful reminder of the strength it takes to fight not just on the battlefield, but in the corridors of power. This story is about more than a medal or a courtroom battle. It's about the human spirit refusing to be broken. It shows how standing up for your truth, even against overwhelming pressure, can change lives and institutions. It reminds us that honor isn't just about awards or recognition, but integrity, resilience, and courage in the face of injustice. As the SEAL moved forward, her story stayed with those who heard it, a testament to the idea that real heroes don't just fight wars, they fight for justice, fairness, and the right to be heard. And in the end, that's what makes all the difference. For more thrilling, emotional, and unforgettable stories, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, and share with friends who love powerful twists.